Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Janine Hernandez TV show. Today, I am so excited because I have Miss Lizbel Ortiz with us. She is a baker and an author, and she's going to share with us a little bit more about her book. So, Lizbel, tell us a little bit about you.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. When you first reached out to me, my brother sent me a snapshot of one of your comments, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So thank you so much for even having me. I am 27 years old. I actually just turned 27 in September. Um, I have been a home-based baker for the past, I would say, 11 years. That has been my main priority and my focus. And this book has been in the works for the past 6 to 7 years, just in the process of me writing it. And I have finally published it, which in my head it feels like it's been forever, but I look back and it feels like such a short time. But
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to write this book because I was noticing that so many of the conversations that I was having with my friends were so similar to the things that we were going through as Dominicans, even though there were so many people from different islands and places experiencing the exact same thing. But
Mhm.
it was like conversations that we were not able to speak about proudly or to our parents. It was like hidden conversations we were just having between us, and it was absolutely taboo for you to even bring that up in public. And I noticed that me and my friends were having these conversations and we were healing each other. We were literally healing and helping each other just through talking
Mhm.
and figuring out what these things triggered in us and how it made us who we are. And I said, what if we could do this on a larger scale? Like,
Mhm.
what if the situations that we personally are going through, so many others are going through, but I could teach them a way to kind of maneuver and get through these things quicker. So that
Mhm.
was the main purpose of the book and why I wanted to do it and publish it.
Guys, if you are listening or watching, I just want to say that I've been able to read two of the chapters because she sent it to me, but I'm still waiting for my book to arrive. But those two chapters were amazing. So you're going to want to, stay tuned for the rest of the interview and grab the book once we are done. So tell
Thank
us
you.
a little bit more, the title of the book, and really dive a little deeper on the types of topics that you talk about in the book.
Okay, so the title is called Let's Talk About It, por la Buena O La Mala, which I kind of feel like it speaks for itself, but the Let's Talk About It, that's just a phrase that I've used throughout these last few years to like bring up these conversations in my home and in my friendships and all of these things. And por la Buena O La Mala, I feel resonates with every Latin kid in the world. You just know that like we have to talk about this no matter what. Like it's necessary, it's pivotal. We have to do this. And the title, my brother was actually the one that helped me come up with the title. We were in Puerto Rico. The book was finished, and I was just like, what can I name this book? What can I name it to capture people? And I
Mhm.
started praying. I remember I was in the pool and I was like, listen, God, like, I know that this is just your vessel. You know, I'm just your vessel. So
Yeah.
I need you to speak to me, give me what I need, and give me what the people need. So I'm not going to come up with the title. You have to help me
Yeah.
because I know that this is just your work, you know, and I'm just the vessel for it. And I remember I was sitting in silence in the pool for like an hour, and my brother came up to me and he was like, yo, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? What's going on? Why are you so quiet? And I was like, I'm trying to think of a title. And he was like, oh, let me try to help you. And then like 15 minutes later, we were just shouting back and forth different things. And then he said, por la buena la mala. And when he said that, my eyes like lit up. And I was like, are you joking? Why has that never crossed my mind? Like, that's perfect. Um, some of the topics in the book, I would say the first chapter, I wanted to discuss the power of choice and how I didn't know growing up in a Dominican home that so many of the things that were presented to me were just that, presented to me, but I did not have to do this, you know, just because it was a rule and just because all of the women in my life before me did it did not mean that I have to do that. So
Mhm.
I talk about a little bit of the revelation behind that, of the influence of my mom and my grandmother. I also wanted to discuss childhood traumas and how we love as adults, but we still hide as children. You know, like we are loving and we're doing all of these things as adult 30-year-olds, but we're still children inside because we haven't healed the traumas and the things that we went through as we were children.
Preach.
So yes, I really wanted to discuss that. That was so pivotal for me to discuss because I think it's about 67% of Americans have childhood traumas that go undetected, and they just navigate their life with this, and they don't know how to fix it, you know?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to discuss that. I wanted to discuss the difference in how Caribbean parents look at the United States of America to firstborn children here. I got to see America for what it was. I would say I was raised with a lot of police brutality, a lot of racism, a lot of sexism. I saw the classism and how they tried to keep Americans in poverty and how they played on kind of the worst things about us. And I wanted my parents to see that side. I also wanted to discuss the racism and colorism in our communities. I wanted to talk about how so much of our hair and our skin is frowned upon, how we tried so hard to assimilate and remove all traces of blackness from our culture
Yes.
just to make others comfortable and so that we can be seen as other. We don't want to be associated with blackness, but it's the most beautiful part of our culture.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
so yeah, so many different topics. I wanted to discuss that. I also have a chapter where I talk about pedophiles and how we basically coddle them in our churches. Because I know that a lot of Catholic churches, especially where I was raised, we saw these things going on, but we never spoke about it, or we made excuses, and we like to pray over people, even though they were hurting others. And how our churches and our church groups, whenever something like that happens, they go around the priest. If the priest is the person who's doing the molesting or hurting children, they go around the priest and they say, hey, it's okay. Us as a community, we're going to support you. We're going to help you get this out of your system while still neglecting the child that was hurt by this person. So I speak about how I couldn't understand the hypocrisy
Yep.
of all of the beauty of God and how he loved our children and he forgave us, but then there were so many things that we also didn't discuss and we like to sweep under the rug. And it was one of those things as a child that I couldn't understand, you know, and it made me scared of God. It made me scared of religion. It made me scared of church until I grew up and realized that God is so much more than just what's in this book and what they told us. So
Yep. Wow. Okay, so like I said, I've only read 2 chapters, but this
yes.
makes me want to read it even more because I resonate with all of that you just said. Growing up,
Wow.
I grew up in New Jersey, so and I have first generation parents, and so for me, it's like when you talk about these things, it's like, oh, I've been through that. Oh, I went through that. I experienced that. I saw that. And then also when you talk about the part about our blackness, it's something that we don't almost discuss in our community because it's
Right.
like, well, what is this person going to think of us? Or is that really me? Or is that really a part of me? And so there's a lot of like mixed feelings around it, and are we accepted if we do say that we are and are proud of it? So there's just so much that I resonate with, and I can't wait to read the rest of it. So you have very specific topics. How did you come up with these topics, because they all kind of go together for the Latino and Hispanic community, but how did you come up with these topics, and why was it so important for you to share this? Not a lot of people talk about them.
Right. I actually love that question. Thank you. I think that most of these topics are things that we all go through. Whether it be mental health, whether it be us questioning our own religion or questioning God, questioning the beliefs that our parents passed on to us, questioning our blackness, questioning our heritage, questioning ourselves. So much of just like self-doubt and trying to navigate with manipulators and just so many things that we all go through, you know. And I wanted to basically, when I essentially started the book, I wanted it to be basically like a homegirl
Mhm.
that you needed to talk to when you couldn't like when you didn't have anybody else, you know? Like so many of my friends go through these things and I'm the voice that tries to lead them out of these dark places. And I was like, what if I can just create something that people can go into so that they can do that even if they don't know me personally.
Yep.
So maybe you do have the same thoughts about me that I do about religion or about God or about the sexist men in our family and what they want from us and how they treat us and how we navigate this world. I wanted you to have a friend in a book or
Yeah.
the answers that I wish I had. I always wanted a when I was a little girl, I was very combative and I had so many questions about everything. Like everything. My family thought I was nuts. But I wanted to give those answers to those girls, to those people who had those same questions. I just wanted you to have a book full of the answers that I so desperately needed when I was younger. So
Yes.
I would say I came up with the topics just by my life. Really, that's because every chapter in that book is a part of me.
Yeah.
And I really feel like we all have so much to do with everything in that book.
Yeah. When you were younger, did you ever think that you would grow up to become an author, or let me rephrase that, or you can answer two-part question. When God started to speak to you and say you have to start writing this book, were you like, "Oh shit, me?" Like, you know, how was that process for you?
I will say I didn't know that I would be an author, but I will say that I loved reading. I loved reading and I loved writing. I remember my third grade teacher, Miss Laskoski. I had won some awards for writing, and she told my mom, "Listen, when she grows up, she's gonna be a writer. She's going to be a writer because you could tell that she loves it." I used to do book reports for fun. Like I would do six of them, and I only needed to give one just because I loved reading and I loved writing and the thought process of trying to separate a story to how it started and ended. I just love that part. Um, for me being an author, I had no idea. When God did start telling, I'm sorry, when God did start telling me and moving me towards this direction, I have to admit I had self crippling doubt. Like I had crippling self doubt, like where I was like, there's no way I have to do that. I know that it's on my heart, but you can't put that
Yeah.
pressure on me. Like, let me just make my cakes and be calm. Don't put all of that pressure on me. I can't be an author. Like,
Me,
and of
God.
course, in our own heads, we second guess ourselves. It's just human nature. No matter how much you know, no matter what you feel in your heart, you're supposed to do. It's just human nature to be like, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. And every single book that you write, you're gonna have the same thoughts. I promise you. I have the same thoughts. I think almost every author does. It's that fear of like, me? You want me to share
Yep,
the story? You want me to write this? Are you sure I could do it? We can be our worst enemies sometimes.
absolutely.
What would you say to an author that's going through that at the current moment? That maybe they know they're supposed to write a story or write a book, but they have that crippling fear.
I would say that if something keeps you up at night, it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one specific thing that you think about constantly while you're at work or maybe when your mind is resting at bed, that's God trying to tell you. Whether you believe in God or not, maybe it's whatever you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's them telling you this is your calling. This is what you need to do to be happy. And unfortunately, happiness for us is scary. Joy is scary. You finding your passion and your art is scary because that means you're going to go through so many things that you didn't want to. It's so easy to just live a normal life and say, hey, I'm going to just stay working at this job because it doesn't take too much of my heart, doesn't take too much of, joy, pain, or anything. It doesn't feel, it just work. I just do this.
Yeah.
Uh, but when you're doing your passion, when you're finding your like life in your art, that takes a different level of vulnerability, of love for yourself, of compassion, of forgiveness. Like it takes so much. So I would say follow your heart. And I know that it seems so far, like, oh, I want to write a book, but in your head it feels 10 years ago, like 10 years away.
Yep.
No. It can literally happen this year.
Yep.
And I always, like, what I try to tell people is start today. If you don't want to write off, like, if you don't have it all put together, just start today. Make a short list. What would you want your book to be about? What would you tell, if your publisher was asking you, what would you want your book to be about? I want you to write that little paragraph and think
Yeah.
about it. And that can be your start. That's really it. It's just about breaking past the fear and starting.
It's really just making that decision and then just starting it, just doing it.
Yeah.
And
As crazy as it sounds, it's so simple.
did you self-publish, or did you go through a traditional publishing company?
Yes, I did. I went through a publishing company called Palmetto.
Oh, wow. Okay, so can you
Yes.
share with us a little bit about your experience in the publishing process?
Yes. So with Palmetto, unfortunately, when I submitted the book, my grandfather had just passed away. So I wasn't able to be a super active in it because I was in the Dominican Republic, and I wasn't able to call. So everything was via email. But the process was super easy. Once I finished the book, they had an editor look over it, and they just gave me a few tips and pointers. You can always accept or deny, and I accepted a few, denied a few, because I always wanted it to be my own, no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we kept in touch. It took a little longer than I thought. I'll be honest. It took about a month and a half longer than expected. But when it was ready, it was perfect. Like the printing and everything was just absolutely perfect. So it was worth the wait.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I know that you recently you did like a pre-order, a pre-sale. How did that go for you? What was that experience like for you?
That was awesome. Like it's my first time doing any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of person that I am, I've always had that doubt in myself. That's always been one of my biggest flaws, or that I question and I nitpick at my own self. I'm my biggest critic. So me putting this book out was such a tough process, but me seeing the support and the people who were waiting for it all these years was amazing. I did not nowhere near expect the reaction and the support that I got. I did not expect that, not for an ounce, but it's been a magical experience, honestly. I feel like these past few weeks have been like a little cloud that I've been in. It
Yeah.
just makes it all worth it, for real.
I know that feeling of like, oh my God, all of these people support me. It's crazy. It's almost like you don't even notice because you're constantly go, 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 go. But then when you do something this big and they support you, you're just like, oh my God, this is for real.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
I
And I
just feel
saw,
so blessed.
yeah, and then I saw yesterday you had posted your picture. You're getting ready to ship all the books. How many books do you think you approximately sold for your pre-order?
So it's act for the pre-order. I sold about 280.
Wow.
Yes, and then we just crossed over to the 300, so I think we're at like 315 now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it's been nuts. I honestly I can't still believe, like, I still don't believe it. And I shipped all the books out. People are receiving them. It still hasn't even processed in my mind.
I cannot wait. I saw that mine gets here on Saturday, so I can't wait. But
Also,
so like I mentioned, I was able to read two chapters. I read chapter 6 and chapter 14. Chapter 6 was so important because you touch on various different things that as a woman we go through growing up in a Hispanic household. As an example, you talked about how growing up, there can be biases between male and female, and you can't do certain things because you're a female, or you have to do certain things such as clean and take care of the kids and cook and all of that. Can you share with us a little bit more on that chapter, and why it was so important to share these things in that specific chapter?
yes. So I feel like so many of the things that we are as women, as adults, have so much to do with what we were doing when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I have always looked up to most of my aunts. Most of my aunts are Dominican, and most of them have been housewives, and they have, Dominican tradition. So that's just how they were raised. That's just how they are. And I have never wanted to be that. I've always despised it. So I remember when I was a kid, I would hate how they were treated, and I kind of felt a little bit of resentment towards them because I'd say I love you, so why do you put yourself through these things? You know, like I wish you weren't this way. And then as I grew up and I became a woman and I started to read and learn all of these things, I said, wow, these women did not necessarily have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't necessarily have a choice. And I see that so many women can become passive and become yes women, and they take care of everybody in their lives besides themselves.
Yep.
And sometimes even when you don't have somebody to take care of, you feel weird. You
Yep.
feel like, wait, what am I doing? I need somebody to take care of. And I noticed that these things go back to when we were children, because so many girls are just given that motherly role off of the strength of you being born a woman. So you can be a 2-year-old mom taking care of your little brother, cleaning, cooking, looking after the house. You have the same responsibilities as a parent, and you're just a child.
Yep.
And I think it has so much to do with sexism, because yes, boys do have a lot of responsibilities, and every household is different, so I can't speak for every home. But I will say that in my home, girls were expected to do so much of the cooking, cleaning. Atendiendo, you got to make sure everybody is comfortable. Go get them a glass of water, sirvele café. Men eat first.
Serve.
Men eat first, and you better serve the plate. Like, if you don't serve the plate, what kind of woman are you? You must not want to be a wife.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of these things are expected of us, and essentially it's just so that you can become what they think is a good wife or a good woman or a good mother.
Yep.
So they teach us how to be good wives instead of good women. So we're just, learning how to service others and do so many great, beautiful things for other people, but then we're left unhappy, sad, lonely, and underfed, basically, emotionally and in all ways. So that's why I wanted basically to speak for my aunts and for the little girls who come after me, who notice that, just because that's what was before doesn't mean that that's what it is now.
Well, and that's important because it affects us as we get older, and then we're stuck as women, shedding these, I guess, these habits that we have created for ourselves, or that our families have created for us.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of reconditioning to create a new person, and to
Yep.
say, no, I'm going to put myself first, and no, I'm not, and speaking up and saying, no, I'm not doing that. And no, I don't want to do that. And with a smile, and no, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And actually, as a woman, I get to do whatever I want, just like a man does, So
wow, that's mind blowing to them.
It takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up to our parents, or, to other people in our community, to say, we're not doing that anymore.
Yep, it takes so much.
Oh my God, I can resonate with that. And I still, till this day, I still sometimes struggle with some of that. What our society says we should be doing and not doing. But then at the same time, it also, kind of similar to you in your book, it pushes me to say, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yep.
Let me do something different for myself. So that's awesome. I cannot wait to read your book. I'm so excited. If you guys are listening, and if you guys are watching, like I said, make sure that you guys grab her book, because it's going to be amazing. And if you're not of the Latino culture, it's great. It's a great read for people to understand, why we are the way that we are, how we grew up, some of the things that we were accustomed to. It's great to learn about culture as well. I want to ask you, what is your vision now that you're an author? Like, what do you see for yourself in the upcoming months, years, and are there more books to come?
There are definitely more books to come. I feel like as I go through life, even from day to day, I go through so many things that I feel like so many others can relate to, that I don't think I'll ever stop writing now. Really, I don't think I'll ever stop doing it. My vision for my next few months, I am working on getting the book translated into Spanish, because my main focus was I wanted to speak to our older generation. I wanted to speak to my people, and I know that racism, classism, sexism, these are all things that we go through. And
Mhm.
I really, really wanted to help my Latino community. And
Mhm.
I wanted to put it in Spanish. That was my main objective. I've always wanted the book to be in Spanish. So now it's beginning that process. Once it is published in Spanish, I'm going to go to the Dominican Republic. I'm going to stay out there maybe for 3 or 4 months. And just promote the book. And I'm
Okay.
also looking to shoot a short documentary about racism and sexism in the Dominican Republic. So I'm going to also take advantage of that. So yeah, my next few months is basically me putting this into Spanish, making an audio book, and moving into the Dominican Republic so I could help heal the island.
I love that. And girl, as you speak, I'm just like, oh my God, we need to get you on these Spanish news channels, TV shows. We need to have you speak up for our, Latin community. There's just so many
Right.
people
Thank
that
you
you can
so much.
impact. And for the older generation, for them to understand where we come from.
Mhm.
That's super awesome. So I want to ask last question. If our listeners and viewers would like to connect with you, maybe they want to do an interview with you, or they want to purchase your book, or maybe just give you feedback, where can they reach you? What's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me is on Instagram. My Instagram is my name, Lizbel Ortiz, and you can find the book right in my website, right on the link on my bio. My email is also there, so if you want to have any interviews, any questions that you may have,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you would like to do, you can email me. I'll answer directly. And yeah, I also have my baking page there, so if you want some desserts, that's fine too. But for the most part, the book is right in the bio.
Perfect. And what is one last thing that you would like to leave our listeners and our viewers with? Any last minute words?
Last minute words is follow your gut always. Know that confidence is the best thing that we can have. Once we move with this world with intention, God and the universe will open these doors for us one by one, and we won't even know where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So
It all
that's all I
just
have to say.
aligns. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
allowing me to interview you today. As soon as I saw your book, I was like, I need to interview her. So thank you so much for allowing me the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you so
And
much for having me for real.
and I'm super, grateful. I'm super excited for all of your success. I cannot wait to see, I can't wait to read it, and I can't wait to see the
Yes.
documentary, audiobook, all of that stuff that you're going to create with it. So thank you so much again. And guys, if you are viewing or listening, thank you so much for joining in on another episode of the Janine Hernandez TV show. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. I love you guys. Thank you.